What up? What up? This is High Definition Pod. This podcast that is. This is Maurice.
Yo, it's Therese.
And we are back for another episode. My brother, what's been going on?
You know, we survived Snowmageddon last weekend.
This one right here, just a dusting.
Yeah, that was just a little. I had people still call out
Because
because they were scared of ice, which is fine. But you know, at least come to work late. You know, but other than that though, man, you know, just work the weekend like I normally do. Had a great weekend. New system issues, whatever. But all glory to God. Kids good, wife's good. How about yourself, bro?
Chilling.
That's it.
That's all I do.
No events? No events?
Church.
That's
all I go to work, I go to church, I go home. Listen, everybody, y'all know what we're about. We are all about the conversation. Y'all know us. You can agree with us. You can disagree with us. The only thing we do not tolerate disrespect.
No.
We don't want to hear it. But hey, y'all let us know what you think about what we think. You can hit us up on our social media platforms. You can find us on IG at high_definition_podcast. Why am I forgetting our stuff today? I don't know. But anyway, if you go on our IG, you will actually see a link tree link. It has all of our platforms on there. So our email, our Facebook, our IG, our YouTube. Go on there. You can find us on all those platforms. Inbox us. We are more than happy to reply back to you. Let us know what you're thinking about what we think.
Mm-hmm.
So,
before you said, now y'all notice that I never give the social media handles. I'm gonna butcher it, so I'm gonna let Maurice handle it all the time.
So, hey, like we said the past couple episodes too. If y'all shoot us with something, we may have you on. So, hey, don't be afraid to hit us up. If y'all on the episode last week, we were actually requested that by one of our dear brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, y'all let us know. But anyway, today on this episode, I am happy to have on here on our platform. We have these are actually my cousins, but they are also one of the pastors at our local church, City Gate Ministries International, under the leadership of Apostle Ryan and Pastor Erica McGinsley. Hey, Pop. Hey, lady. How y'all doing? We love y'all. But they are one of the pastors there. We have none other than family, Steve and Rita Mims. Thank y'all for joining us. How are y'all doing today?
Yes. How are y'all doing today?
We're good. All good. All good.
Nervous, ain't you?
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she is. Oh, you might want to.
It's all good.
Talk yourself through it. I do it all the time.
How's y'all week been?
Busy. Have the business, Breath of Life, so we are busy teaching CPR and heart education.
Awesome.
Good deal. So, for those who don't know, this is your first time seeing them. They recently, back in December, it was Christmas Day, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Christmas. So Christmas Day, they actually celebrated 39 years of marriage.
Yes.
So we are about to glean from this wisdom today.
Yes, we are.
Okay. So first question out the gate: where does you all's story begin?
I love Steve's answer.
Where does it begin? Wow. It goes back. Wow. Okay. My first cousin and I grew up like brothers. So I'm not sure how he met his wife, but my first cousin's wife is her sister. So he was dating this girl. And so he and I, hey man, let's go hang out, man. She got a sister. I'm like, really? And I wasn't, I was a year younger than him, so wasn't really interested in, all of that at that particular moment. But got to, ride to visit one day, and okay, she playing softball. She wasn't even there, out somewhere doing what she was doing at that time. But it began. Me just tagging along with my cousin and kind of manifested from that point.
Amen. You got that right. For me, the journey began in church. And this is going to sound a little weird, but he came to church at Cedar Grove Baptist Church in Jonesville, Revival Week. And after church, he waited outside on the step, and we took a little walk near the graveyard just to get away from the crowd.
Gotcha.
And we were able to connect that way and exchange phone numbers.
Gotcha. So next question is, what were your first impressions of each other?
For me, I was like, those are some thick eyebrows. And the stare was just intense. And, you know, I was a tomboy at the time, and I was like, what you looking at? So I confronted him, and it went from there.
And the first impression, I mean, you know, seeing, you know, wow was the first impression, I would say. And then from there, how do I, you know, what do I do? How do I impress? You know, again, still new to the game. You know, I think I was, I don't know, maybe 17, somewhere in there, 16, 17, I can't remember. But, you know, still, okay, don't want to mess this up. It's an opportunity. And my cousin, you know, he's all in my head with this is what you do, this is what you say, and trying to make sure I got it right when I don't even know how it got started. But here we are.
So y'all first date, where'd you go?
Wow. We're going to go to the one with the memory bank on that one. And where did we go, Rita?
We went to the movies.
We went to the movies.
What movie did y'all see?
Yes.
Next.
Ooh, that would be that's a good question. I have
I
no idea.
don't really think our minds were on the movie.
Yeah.
But we did go to the movies.
What? That's gonna puzzle me. Because I see ooh, yeah. What movie was hot in '79? Y'all was, you know, not even twinkles in the parents' eyes at that point.
That's true.
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
That's some questions y'all gonna be pondering on the way out.
Yeah, we'll table that one.
We like making people think anyway. So
yeah.
That was a good one. I believe though that it was a compliment to him if my mind was not on the movie.
Right, exactly.
So, how did you know things were getting serious between you two?
Okay, I think it's, you know, when you're fighting through all of the competition, if you will, and being persistent, and, you know, again, me hanging out with the boys, you know, I much rather, okay, well, I got to cut y'all short. I got to go and, you know, and see her. And then to get there to see her and she's not there, you know, again, playing softball, doing whatever they do in the country. So, you know, hanging out with her dad at the time, you know, just being there. And I remember that, and she'll tell that story about, he down here again, you know, so what's she doing down here with my daddy? You know, which goes back to the original question. Our families go back. You know, she'll tell you she was at my grandfather's house long before we were together. Yeah. How was that?
So he is totally correct on that. That's some more brownie points for him. So I knew that it was serious. Did you say I'm a brownie?
No.
I knew it was serious when I would come home from a softball game. And he would be in deep conversation with my dad, helping him. My dad was a carpenter and a brick mason, and his name was Rock, and he lived up to that name. And for him to woo my father over and to impress him, just to be engaged in what he was doing and be there for the conversation, that was the thing that struck me the most, because most boys that tried to come around, they couldn't handle my dad because he'd be like, "Who your people?" And he'd show him his, he'd show him his gun set, you know, all sorts of things to see if they were going to be intimidated. And so that's what won me over.
Wow. So you were a daddy's girl.
Oh yes.
The baby of 9.
I'm baby Rock.
Yeah.
So that kind of went to our another question we were going to ask was kind of what was the first impression of each other's family? We all. Mm-hmm. So from your vantage point, he was already hanging with daddy, so that was a pretty good impression right there.
He formed a relationship with him probably before I formed a relationship relationship with him.
Yeah.
So,
That's some strategy, isn't it?
It is.
No,
It's great strategy.
it wasn't a part of the strategy, but it's like I'm here. And one thing about the Thomases, and I love each one of them, but there's no shortage of words. There's the conversation is gonna go, and you better be there and listen. And so he talked. You ain't gonna worry about that. And so going there to see her, but like she's not there, and he's outside doing what he do. Oh, listen, let's do this. Oh, you don't even know how to drive a nail, boy. Let me show you. Okay, and going through all of those things. And again, like I said, our families knew of each other because small towns. We went to the same church. So yeah, I mean, it was.
I thought his grandma Addie Mae was my grandma because
Addie Mae and Otis.
Granny Mae Murphy.
Yes.
Give her props. She wrote a letter to me when we were newlyweds, and it was addressed to me to encourage me as her granddaughter. Wow. He thought it was to him, and I was like, this is addressed to me. So that spoke volumes of her character. But I knew of her long before I met him. So first time that we went to the house, I was trying to figure out why do we need to check into this because we got the same grandma. Because everybody looked at her as the church grandma.
Yes. So the engagement, how did that go?
Scary.
Did you have was it like a big plan to pop the question, or did it just happen? What was that? Especially with, I guess, a part of the question is how did you all do it back then versus how it's probably done a little bit more in today's world. How did you all pop that question?
Well, definitely it was a plan because of the financial challenge at the time getting the ring. I had to save up for that bad boy, so it was a part of the process. But did definitely had the conversation with her dad kind of along the way, and I didn't ask him for his permission until after I had asked her. Because, I was like, well, it may not go this way, but I had a feeling that, okay, yeah, what kind of son-in-law are you looking for? Drop those kind of questions. And like she said, having stared down the barrel of a shotgun, seriously, I mean, yeah.
Staring down the barrel of a shotgun.
He was standing in the doorway. I'm old because there's stories behind everything. Okay, so he's standing in the doorway with his hands up on the door seal, and where he had the gun in a rack above the door. So he's standing there talking about, anybody come date my daughters, blah blah blah, whatever. And when he came down, boom.
He didn't fire the gun.
No, he didn't fire it. But I'm sitting, he said, and I will use some words about blowing some body parts off.
I got you.
And I'm like, whoa, okay. And then so from that point forward, we were good, and it's like, all right. So I knew he was serious about his daughter. And then history, with my cousin already, they had got married the year before or 2 years or whatever. And so then, it was our turn. All right, here we're going to go. And so, but yeah, we had that conversation about it before that time.
So just a little bit more history about my dad. He was a big teddy bear. And he was fearful of who was going to take over from where he left. And he had to prove to himself that he was not fearful coming into the situation. And I'll never forget when we got married and the first time that we got assignment in Virginia because he was Air Force. We came back home to visit, and all my dad wanted to know was he taking care of me? And so that was his strategy to find out if he could stand Not that I agreed with it, because it used to terrify us too. Be like, put that away. But some didn't stay behind. Some burnt rubber.
Yeah.
When they saw that, and he was like, "What kind of gun is that? Can I hold it?" And so that turned into a conversation as well.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a way of knowing if you can handle that responsibility.
Very effective. I always said if I ever had daughters, I already had it mapped out how I was going to do, but there's something about staring down the barrel of a shotgun that will humble you real quick. Loaded or not.
Maybe that's why God didn't give us any girls.
Yeah, he knew that wasn't going. They knew that wasn't going to work. Yeah.
I think that's why I'm having girls either. Not goddaughter.
Got it. Not the same. Yeah.
What is something? Let's go. How long was you guys' engagement before your actual wedding?
1 year.
1 year. So thinking back at the wedding day, was there anything that happened unexpectedly at y'all's wedding? I love hearing those stories.
I can give you a couple of things. Well, my dad was known to take a drink here and there, and so he was struggling that day, and he stepped in and made arrangements to take my dad for a ride to calm his nerves, and not necessarily to juice him up or anything, but it was amazing how it went. He was ready and on time for the wedding and walked me down the aisle, and I didn't understand what he was doing, but he sort of felt like he's going to struggle with this, and let's see how I can help.
Struggle giving his baby girl over?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And the other thing that happened was my sister, she was in charge of the flowers, and she didn't realize she wasn't supposed to put them in the freezer. So they were supposed to be refrigerated. And so all the petals froze, and they just crumbled off like ice petals. So, needless to say, I didn't care. It wasn't about the flowers. We had the bridesmaids walk down the aisle with sticks, the little stick part with the little ribbons, poofed up ribbons around them. No flowers. But you could barely tell in most of the pictures that the flowers had fell off.
So we done got married. Going through how many? For the people who don't know, how many children do we have?
One. Well, there's. I always answer that 1.2.
Okay.
That's just because God graced us to be able to step in and help rear a couple of our great nephews.
Awesome.
Gotcha.
Yes. So we had one, then hit that point, then 2 more. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so I think some people say usually if you can make it past like the first, well, I've heard it like this. If you can make it like past the first 5 years, you'll be pretty much good. What would you say was probably the most challenging, even not just the first, when you first started off, but even up to now? What have been some challenges within, you don't have to get too personal if you don't want to, but what were some of those challenging times that really hit your relationship?
Well, first of all, I mean, if you can make it past the first year, 5, 7, all these things, yeah, there's some truth to that, but it doesn't mean you're out of the woods. You can make it 7 years, you can make it 17 years, you can make it 27 years, and all of a sudden, that thing still can come back and hit you. So, for those that are, okay, we got past the 7 years or whatever the itch is or whatever, I still think you still have to keep your guard up continuously. So just knowing that it's a process, we're still learning, we're still growing, it is a thing where you have to work at it to be on your guard. When you see it, when you rear his ugly head up, wait, stop it right there, because it can pop up at any given time.
For me, I would say the most challenging thing was having to grow into maturity. As newlyweds, because we got married when I was 19 and 21. So thinking it's just all about snuggling and, having your free time to do whatever you wanted to do. And then, of course, the child comes along, job demands, careers. I think the most challenging time, though, was when we grew closer to God. I feel as though we really were not in tune or mature enough early in our marriage to recognize when the enemy was attacking. And so to me, the most challenging times were when marriage is being attacked. And that can be in so many different ways and on so many different levels. And so that to me was the most challenging time, when we realized we had to draw closer to God. And then when we made the decision to step out on faith and surrender to God and become ministers, that's when the devil really got mad.
Oh, yes.
First of all, he hates unity.
Definitely.
And you think you're going to be together and do ministry? So that's when the true challenge came.
So during those challenging times, what would you say you all have learned about each other during those times?
For me, to extend mercy and grace, but it didn't come easy. Those were some trying times. It didn't just come easy. We had to learn that too. And we have been in churches and had different leaders and influences in our lives that really didn't teach anything about marriage. So it wasn't until we connected with our church that we're in now at City Gate Ministries. Our leaders are the McGimpsies. And we became chairs. And it's been almost 10 years now of marriage ministry. And now we kind of sit back now and we listen and learn from the millennials, which has been great. But I just remember when they first appointed us, I was like looking backwards going, you sure you're me? You sure God said me? And because of what we've been through, the answer was yes.
I'd say when you're going through, when we went through that hurdle, trial, whatever, yes, trying to go through it together, but then it's still a part of that you got to do on your own. I had to go and get myself together, if you will, to be able to then understand where my fault is, then try to get back and then try to get to a point of understanding why you feel that way. I'm trying to, and I never forget, you can't tell me how to feel. Well, yes, I can. She never listened to me, as far as, because, what I was trying to do or say was intended to bring that, to get that response. And she wouldn't respond in the way I was trying to get her to respond. So we arguing about your response to what I said, and I'm trying to get you to say this, but you want to do that. So it's like, okay. So then again, once again, digressing. Okay, did I say that right? No. So it was a lot of learning to communicate, then understanding that regardless of what I was trying to communicate, she didn't, oh, that's how you think. Oh, wow. So, yeah.
So needless to say, how we thought we were going to be able to fix it did not work.
That didn't work.
So we back and forth,
right.
And I remember clear as day, Apostle Ryan McGimpsey said, learn to fight fair. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so we weren't fighting fair at first. And I will definitely emphasize that until we surrendered unto the Holy Spirit, we weren't doing anything. We were just wasting time, going through the motions. I didn't care nothing about putting no love until to dinner. You eat it. And so, but, we had to find that compassion again and extend mercy and grace and forgiveness. And we really didn't learn that until we got connected with the right ministry.
I kind of want to go back to something you was talking about, Steve. You talking about how sometimes you have to take a step back and kind of reassess. Coming from the male perspective, because a lot of times I know y'all know we all come from the same church. So Apostle, he's talked about sometimes how men go into a cave. So what do you say to a young man who's maybe just getting into marriage, or he's been in it for a while? He does that. He goes into his cave, but he hasn't learned how to come out and really deal with the issue at hand. What have you learned from your years, and how would you encourage him to kind of come on out that cave and let's really deal with it? You know?
Yeah, that.
Or is it something you're still learning?
Definitely still learning, but I think you learn that, okay, I need to go there, but I know I can't stay there. And, getting her to understand he needs this cave moment, because we're not processing it as fast as they are, because most time we're
very analytical.
Very analytical, and I was is that another anyway? But thinking about trying to make sure that, okay, when I say this, I'm gonna get this. Trying to be strategic, okay. But at the same time, understanding how to deal with your emotions and things of that nature, to where if he's hurt, or when you get hurt, now you got to figure out, okay, it's because of something that was said or something that was done or whatever, okay, I need to get myself together, but I can't stay here, because most of them, I don't want to categorize it as a racial thing, but they're not going to let you, didn't let me stay in there long, because there's more to discuss. I need you to understand this, and I need you to feel this, I need you to do this, and da-da-da-da. And it's like, oh, whoa, and okay. And it can be overwhelming. So to the young lady out there, get a brother some time and some space, because we don't know what he's dealing with, especially if he was the one that was wrong. Now he got to go in there and figure out what he did, figure out if he's man enough to admit his wrong, then try to do the work to repair himself, which can take a long time, and then try to work on what the damage he did there. Why are you so mad? It was just, why are you tripping? It was just, and then all of a sudden, so trying to really outthink that person, playing chess. Okay, I can do this. I'm smarter than you are. No, I can do this, but you can't. You really can't. Yeah.
I'm looking at these questions. I'm like, wow, okay. So I guess this would be a little advice from you guys to anybody newly married or with whatever year of marriage they're in. But do you think what it means to be a good wife or a husband has changed over the time that you've been together?
Yes, I do. The reason I feel that way is because sometimes in relationships you can be very selfish. And so we have to learn to make sacrifices for each other. And that's something that you continually learn. It's not just always about knowing your mate's 5 love languages or 7, however many it is, because that probably will change at different stages in your marriage. I know that it has for us, so we have had to be creative and explore and devote some time to making sure that the other person is getting what they need out of the relationship. So it is important. Even as you become grandparents, it shifts, and sometimes you can leave your spouse in the wind. Like, it'll seem like it's all about them grandbabies, and so we just have to bring it back and focus and just figure out what the other one needs. Again, it goes back to communication and being intentional.
Okay. So, I'm sorry. Did you want to answer this?
I'm good. What she said.
Okay, so with the world that we're living in today, it's a very technology-driven world.
Yes.
With the advance of social media, everything that's coming on, a lot of times,
Even
these right here can be a big distraction. So, being that you all have years in the game, how has this aspect of it, the technology, the social media, how it seems like people, what our generation calls, we putting on for the gram.
Right.
You're trying to do things where we kind of compare to each other by what we see on here. How has this aspect, the introduction of it into your relationship, and with the advance of it, have you found this to be an issue? Have you found it to be a benefit? Is it a little bit of mixture of both? And then what would you say to those who are probably having that problem where we're always in our phone, we're always doing something, but we're not really connecting?
Definitely has been more of an issue, from the standpoint that, I thank God that I came up in an era where I did not have that at 17, 20 years old or whatever. It was just, that'd have been just too much information. But, we've gone through that thing about, the passwords and the lock phone and all of that. I can honestly say I found joy and peace to know that wherever my phone is right now is where it is, and it's over there. Who is it? I don't know. Answer it. I don't know what it is. And, just not being, to where when it rings, I got to dive across the table and, block the thing and have two passwords on the password and all of this craziness. Is like, that's a whole lot of work. That's too much work. But then to also know that the thing I realized, I have to check myself. I can't, it's too much, and I can hide it, what I'm doing on there, so when I bring up the gram, okay, wow, don't get fixated on that, don't do that, don't go there, so you really got to kind of, cover yourself or govern yourself with it, because it's entirely too much. And then trying to keep up, we see things, oh wow, look at these couples dances and all of this stuff, and it's good to see the love out there. She's more into it than I am, definitely more into it than I am. So I'm the one dragging, fighting, don't want to do it. Let's take a picture. Okay, another picture. Okay, another picture. Let's take a picture of a picture. So it has been there is some benefit and definitely a challenge, keeping up with the tech these days.
So I agree with everything he just said. For me, it was a challenge at first, being in my feelings about, I posted this and nobody liked it,
Wow.
until I realized it's really not about who all is pressing that button, because people are looking. And I use social media mostly for ministry and business. And I do like selfies, and I like for him to be on there with me, and I like for him to comment on stuff that I do. That's one of my love languages, affirmation. So I will not lie about that. But I realize that if you're doing a live and you don't see 100 hearts go up, no sweat, because people most of the time on Facebook are, fake book for them.
Like that.
Because they're in your inbox. If someone is trying to reach out to me for business, they don't normally just put it out there where everyone can see it. They will message me. So I've learned that it doesn't hold a lot of weight about how many likes you get, because people, if they want your service or they like what you're saying, they find a way to let you know.
And I had to understand the compromise, and I'm trying to get better at, making it a point to be, you know, one of the first 2 to 3 to like the post. You know, I like. It's like. It's just okay. You didn't even like it, you know. So and so like.
He just go like.
Because it's too much. I'm like,
you just blew my page up, so I knew it didn't mean anything. You just did it just to do it, so it's okay.
Yeah.
So, what piece of advice would you give your just married self?
Pray about these questions. What piece of advice would I give my just married self?
Y'all just finished walking down the aisle. You've been pronounced Mr. and Mrs. Steve Mims. As soon as y'all go down the aisle, what's the first advice? Looking back on it now, what would be the first advice you would give yourself?
I would say, not that I have any regrets, but to get to know you, because we have grown together. We have grown up together. So my advice would be to know who you are so that the other person knows what they're getting and what you're giving. Pursue your dreams, not necessarily fully, because you may have a partner that God sends you that will help you pursue it, and vice versa. You can support each other in it. But so many people go into marriage prematurely just thinking it's just going to be a fairy tale, and then they have regrets because they moved too fast on this, or they didn't get to do that because of other circumstances that came about. So planning and giving it time would be my answer.
I would say, from a financial standpoint, making sure that, you know, you plan for your financial future. Really get serious about, okay, you know, let's, you know, get the basics, the necessities and things of that nature. Not that we've never really been one of those that want to have the biggest or the best or the flashiest or whatever, but knowing the amount of money that, I'm not going to say we wasted because we had a good time and all of that, but I would have given myself, okay, so, you know, you just getting married, you know, you want a future, you want a plan, you know, you need to learn how to invest, you need to really, really be better stewards with your money.
I didn't mean to leave out, be prayerful.
Yeah.
But then again, at that time, I can't say that we even had a prayer life.
No.
Back then, you know, so if you're mature enough to connect with God and ask Him, not that we didn't pray about getting married, but did we really even know Christ the way that we know Him now?
Wow.
Okay, next 2 questions you're gonna ask, but I got So, what would you say to those? Because you all talked about how you're now in a church community where you're really thriving, you're really growing. Would you really? How much would you recommend that to a younger couple or a couple that's really just starting out, or they kind of been in it for a little bit? How important has it been for you to be in that community now versus if you would have had it maybe when you were a little bit younger? So would you just kind of talk about that? Would you really encourage those to really get plugged into a community? How important have you found it to be now that you're in that community? You know, just kind of expound on that.
Had I known what I know now, that we could have had premarital counseling before, you know, I believe that some of the issues that we ran into early on, probably we would have recognized it and say, you know, devil, I see you. And we would have known how to pray, not necessarily pray about it, but, you know, put the blood on it. And so premarital counseling, I would recommend for anyone considering getting married.
And to expound on that premarital, then I think there needs to be an ongoing counseling session, maybe within the church, especially if you find someone that can pour into you to do that. But for that couple that's, you know, just getting started or been in it a month, a year, 10, whatever, hey, go in for that tune-up. But as she was talking, and when the question hit, I learned a lot about marriage, what not to do from the church. I'm sitting there now, wait a minute now, but oh wow. And so to bring that myth of the religious leader, and not just the preacher, I don't want to throw all the mud on him, but if so, but just knowing that, okay, although these people are in the church, they're still human, they're still wrapped in the same flesh, because some of us can feel that we're just so dirty we can't come in there with all of our dirt, but then you get in there and you see, oh wow, they just as dirty as I am. But at the same time, having someone that you can share with, I don't know if there's any other entity, organization, or whatever that a married man can come in and get with another married man, and that, okay, if nothing else, we love Jesus. Okay, cool. We can use that as our common ground. But hey, let's kind of walk through this thing together. And then if you're so blessed to have a leader or leaders that will, okay, get together and really help you communicate, and it should be about a situation about growing. You go into church not for form or fashion or whatever, but it's for your growth, which is, a whole lot of different things. So I say being connected with a good marriage ministry is utmost.
Yeah, I hear that. So what is the best piece of relationship advice that you were given, and who was it by?
My grandfather, my dad's dad, he, by the time I came along, he had calmed down so much. From what I understand, the stories about him, he was this wild bootlegging. He was off the chain.
I love it.
But he was so calm, just sat there and had his tobacco and everything, and that was it. He had his tobacco. He didn't drink anymore because whatever. So he was like, I think, I don't know how we got in the conversation, but sitting on the porch, before we got married, he's like, all right, boy, I hear you getting ready to do that. Yes, sir, I'm going to go and we're going to do that. You married Rock's daughter? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know them all. Because, again, he a bootlegger. Not saying her daddy was a partaker of the boot, but there was a relationship there. Anywho,
Daddy was a good man.
Yes, he was. Yes, and he raised some good children. But understanding, and he said, do what you got to do, take care of it. Make sure you take care of it. When you get you some money, save it, because you never know. And just, put your wife first. And I ain't going to say what he said to everybody else, but with all of them. Okay. And that was it. That's probably maybe one of the few conversations we had, because he was just so quiet, and he just, I'm like, okay, take care of her and everybody else.
For me, my mom and dad were married a very long time. So I think a mixture of what I observed growing up, I realized that there's no one in a marriage that's exempt from being tempted. So I saw and I heard things, and I tried to piece it together myself. But at the end of the day, there was so much compassion and love and honor and respect for one another. So I would say I learned that even if he had taken that sip, my mom was able to bring him back down, and she would let him know, do it now. But I would have to say, I have never, ever, and I'm not just saying this because of the church that we belong to, but I have never, ever met, and I know Pastor Erica don't like to be referred to as a power couple, but there are very anointed leaders that care for their flock, and the church is, founded upon prayer, and one of their graces is to teach couples, and so I glean from them. I know that I can't be perfect like them, because I see them as a perfect covenant type couple to lead, but I admire them.
Oh, is my question again?
Yep.
Oh, all right. Man, this is some great questions. Y'all have given us a lot of wisdom here. I'm gonna cherry pick. How do you keep going during hard times?
When you say hard times, now I'm gonna throw one back to you. What do you mean?
I wasn't ready for that.
Aha, curveball.
I love it.
Wasn't ready for that.
I mean, hard financial, hard emotional, hard
let's
health.
Let's go with finances because I have another question about
Okay.
that. So financially.
Well, I know that, being the financial leader of the house, which I had to explain to my son that, he got his financial acumen from his mother. Okay, which means there's, how much we got left? Okay, we're going to go spend that.
I'm
like,
a giver. I'm a
wait
giver.
a minute. I mean, so I'm like, hold up. So, but, we when we hit those hard times, it was like, okay, we got the bare minimum, the bare essentials. Okay, they're not going to come take the house. They're not going to turn the lights off. So everything else is good to go. And again, like I said, we never really wasted money. So when we hit it, it was because something happened to a vehicle or whatever, or we helped a family member out. And then, we got caught on the short end of it to a certain degree. But been in the military, fortunately, there was a safety blanket. I could go and, they had systems in place to borrow and get us over the hump, so it was not as detrimental as it could be because of the planning or just being in a good position to have good credit, if nothing else.
I would say too, he's leaving this part out. He taught me to tithe and sow into good ground because you can sow into bad ground. And you'll reap that too. You will reap that also. And so there have been times when we sacrificed and we sowed or, gave more than what we had, and I don't recall a time when God did not bless us. I can't guarantee it was at the time I thought I was supposed to receive the blessing, but it definitely came back to us twofold, and so I don't think we've ever been worried in a financial crisis. If he has, he's done a really good job, and God has sustained him to the point where I didn't notice. So maybe I'm spoiled, but I have to give him his props for that. And he is a good family leader and husband.
Sometimes you got to put on one of those faces. Don't let her know what you're thinking.
Yeah.
You say another question?
I did, but go ahead.
Cool. All right. How important is the physical connection in marriage? And you gotta go into too much detail if you don't want to. I'll let you make that determination. But especially even if there are some couples who, they're kind of a little more seasoned as well, that physical connection as time moves along, how has that changed, and has it affected anything? How have you learned how to kind of maneuver through that?
Y'all may find this a little bit disturbing or surprising, but I'm the aggressive one, so I'm just gonna tell them what I want. I'm just gonna tell them what I need, and we're gonna work it out.
Yeah,
we're gonna work it out. And sometimes it's a workout.
Yeah, it's a workout. That's true. You had the energy when you're young, and you ain't got it to the point now. It's like, okay, hurry up now.
Make it fun. Make it fun.
You mean
That's
again?
all I can say. Explore.
Yeah.
Be intentional. Communicate. Don't be shy. I mean, after 40 years, why am I going to turn off the lights and cover my head up and say, can you do this for me?
It's going to be real.
Yeah. Hey.
And I encourage him to do the same so that we can continue to thrive in that area.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. how has it been for couples? Because one of the things I always say, marriage is two people from two different backgrounds, two different stories, two different worlds. You come together to build your own journey. When it comes to parenting styles,
That's big.
would you say both of you have had the same parenting style, or has it been two different ones? How have you learned to merge those two things together?
I can remember, trying to encourage my son. Say, all right, now look, you did this. I'm gonna cover you. I'm gonna take care of you. He was, Daddy, just whoop me. Don't tell Mama. Because she gonna go in. I mean, she's going in, and so I would say the same style from the standpoint is that, okay, if it requires your hind parts, okay, it's smoke. Now that's it, and so that it was no question about that. And I can, there was never a time where we argued about how to discipline him. So it was a thing where if she handling it, I'm hey, you that's I can't help you on this one, Brian. I told you yesterday, and so knowing that the end result was always the same, unfortunately my son's smart. He got it early, okay, because he ain't gonna let it go, and she sure ain't gonna let it go. And so seeing it, understanding it, that it was all about, coming from love and things of that nature. So it really wasn't a debate on the style.
So in hindsight, I look back and I see lack of parenting skills, the things that we didn't know, the things that we didn't catch. So even with him today, I encourage him, when you see something or hear something, take that opportunity and make it into a teachable moment. Because there's just so much, and the enemy is whispering in our children's ears, at school, on the bus. So I encourage him, take it seriously. If your child says something, dig a little deeper. Don't just say, how was school today? And they say, fine, and you let it be. Eat your dinner and send them to bed. Even if you see a different expression in their face when you ask it, you need to be pulling out some stuff and addressing it and praying about it. The enemy is busy. But to his point, it was when Travis became an adult, our son, that I learned some stuff that happened when I wasn't home. Like, for instance, Daddy let me play with that knife and I cut my finger, and he heard me say, ouch. And he's in his 30s, and I found out that he says, it'll be all right. So he had a different way of, bringing him up than I did. I was always like, what's wrong? What happened? Let me put some ice on that. So different.
I'm very guilty of that myself. My son might fall us up. Get up, boy. Yeah. I walked off. Yeah.
That's our nature right there.
Oh yeah.
Throw some dirt on it. What role should friends, extended family, and community have in your marriage?
None. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. Well, I mean, okay. One of the reasons I think we're sitting here today is because when we got married, it was the next day we left Jonesville and moved to Sumter. So that's 2.5 hour drive, not that far, but we were out there on our own. And, as we're now, or the possibility of, Mama right across the street, down around the corner, before the argument's over, somebody's in it telling you what to do, telling you how to do it. So we were on an island, per se, that we had to work that out, amongst ourselves. And so by the time you go visit, it's okay. But I mean, I don't mean to say none as in that, I did, I guess I said it. But it's positive, of course, if we can see some role models and have a chance to, go and they get into circles and vent or whatever. But, you can't take married advice from a single person. She's been divorced twice, giving marital advice. Well, wait a minute. Why why are you listening to this person? You know, and if you can find that person that's going to pour into you, give you some wisdom to be able to understand, but it's still on you as the individual to process that and to do what you got to do. So, I mean,
I say respect, respect them and give them the privacy and space they need. We don't ever visit our son and daughter-in-law without, we don't just show up. Yeah. But at the same time, I think they should be reminded that you're there if they need you for any reason. Encourage them, stay connected. I don't think that isolation is good at all. That's when the enemy gets to play. So I don't give up. I do check on my son more often and my daughter-in-law and grands. I love it when my 7-year-old granddaughter FaceTimes me and she looks like a dinosaur with a beard because she knows how to do all the, what do you call it?
The emoji kinds.
Yes, the filters. Yeah. So I enjoy staying connected to them, but definitely pray for them. I think I send a scripture and a prayer probably twice a week. Even if I don't verbally talk to them or see them, I'm praying for them.
All right. Let's come down the home stretch. What would you say is the best way to show appreciation to your spouse?
I think that I'm just going to speak for myself. What works for me is he shows so much. What's that love language when you do acts of service? Acts of service. I tell him and I make him blush. Sometimes I'll get off work and he will have cooked. Man, that's sexy right there to me. That is like, listen, he thinks that I'm putting on when I go, oh, this chicken is good. I mean it because sometimes I don't want to cook. Sometimes I'm too tired to cook. And so when he does something like that, I'm going to show him how much I appreciate it. So that means a lot to me. How about you?
Yeah, what she said. I mean, just, finding that thing that that your spouse wants or needs and, without being prompted, do that. And then again, of course, finding those things kind of out of the norm, just where you can always show her how you're feeling, okay, hey, was thinking, sending that text out of the way, kind of just unscheduled, being some spontaneous, I think's help.
And so he's just very supportive all around with the business. I don't think that I would even know how to do business without him being my coach and the administrator. So I bug him a lot in managing, the business. And then what has really helped me in our relationship a lot is growing into our prayer life, because there was a time when we didn't pray together and I was feeling like, I always got to be the one to pray. Don't be sending me out here like that, early in the morning. Wake up. You need to be praying for me. And so to me, that's really important for us to both pray, but for him to cover me. And he always says that first I bugged him when I told him I was his covering. And then, there came a time when I was being discerning about a certain situation which came to pass, and I saw it before it happened, and I had been praying about it. So I think that was when he realized I was really his covering.
I tell you, man, I'm hearing a lot of stuff here. I'm making mental checks. I'm like, I need to work on that myself.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm loving all of this because I can honestly say the wisdom that you guys are saying. I'm sitting there going through this mental Rolodex in my brain, like, man, I can work on that. I can work on that. That's why I love having conversations with seasoned couples. Like I said, I'm just now getting in almost year 4. So that's a lot that I haven't experienced. And there's a lot that I know for a fact. I mean, marriage is always going to be work. Yes. So there's always going to be something that you're constantly polishing up.
Of course.
But man, I appreciate all of this.
Yes.
So last question. What's the number one piece of advice for a successful marriage? Now, I know this can vary from person to person, but for you guys, to the viewer.
I would say peace. Finding what it means to you, what it means for her, and then how do we get it together? To where, there's not a whole lot of chaos and turmoil. And, I know, okay, we're on this thing now where we have, I want my TV in my room. I want your TV in your room. Okay, fine. I don't want to watch no football. I mean, but the football's on. So, okay. So I don't watch the whole game. Okay, all right, let's watch Love and whatever we watching Love and something now, and watch, okay, and that's what she wants. Okay, sometimes, and I can't get her to watch football. Fine, okay, but just really, look at that piece. It comes in different things, but at the end of the day, we good. I understand that this is not you. Okay, cool. I'm not gonna force it on you. Vice versa. So, peace is my thing. Work on it.
That's his thing. To me, I would say that with the marriage ministry, we found out that we do at least have to have a happy medium about something, and that goes to the scripture Amos 3:3. How can two walk together unless they agree? But we don't always agree, so we have to find that happy medium and get to a place where we're okay with moving forward and not being stuck. Our apostle has been, the church has been fasting for the month of January, and he has been really laying the wisdom out in our prayers in the morning. And I think it was either a couple of days ago, he was teaching about how hope gives birth to expectation and how expectation gives birth to evidence. And so what I took from that, how the Holy Spirit gave it to me, was that if I reflect back on that time where we were in a really dark place in our marriage and we were just like, whatever, I can reflect back on how God has been in it even then. So I would say to any couple that's trying to figure out how to get out, or that couple that just doesn't feel like they want to be in it anymore, they've been maybe lured, maybe they're tired, maybe they're so deeply hurt that they don't want to move forward together. I would have them seek God and pray about where He has brought them from and where they would, hope for God to take their relationship. Because I can see evidence, not that we have arrived, because we don't proclaim to be anybody's counselor. We're just here to share. But at the same time, I can go back and think to how I had a bag packed. Not necessarily because of what he done, because I hated myself. And people want to leave for whatever reasons, but just know that the devil hates unity, and he is going to pull everything out to try to get you to leave. And so I would say seek God and ask him for the help that you need. And as long as, nobody's choking the other one, trying to choke them out, I ain't saying stay if that's happening, but just seek God. And, I pray that hope that they have will birth the expectation that they hope to have in their marriage. And that expectation will birth the evidence that they need, because now, because we're here after all that we've been through, I do see the evidence of God working in our relationship.
Y'all want to look at the camera, or just if people want to reach you or they want to find out about your businesses, let people know where they can find you on social media or email. I'll let y'all have that.
Go for it, Rita.
You talk about the Brother's Journey.
The Brother's Journey podcast. Yes. Oh my, yes. So, just we don't have time to go into the depths and the souls of it or whatever. But basically, the Brother's Journey podcast is out there on all of the social media platforms for the purpose of encouraging, men, I'm going to say 30 and up, 25, whatever the case may be, just, have some wisdom to share, a few nuggets here and there, some things I've gleaned from many sermons, many conversations under the shade tree, many things I've learned from this lady. But, so that's out there. Breath of Life is our business, teaching CPR, health and wellness. My coaching business is in pause right now, so we won't bring that up we'll bring that up on the next run. But how they find Rita? Facebook, Instagram, all that.
Facebook, Instagram. I have a Facebook page called Breath of Life CPR Health and Wellness. We are LLC. And so with the we have a business page also called Big, which is the businesses inspired by God, and we like to promote and encourage other business owners as well. However, with the Breath of Life, it was birthed forth based on Genesis 2 and 7. So we realized that we're not doing anything. Even as I stand before people and teach, we start out in prayer, and God always put someone before me that didn't just show up to learn how to pump a chest, to do CPR. To give a great example would be a daycare teacher that had lost her teenage daughter, and she was not able to revive her through the CPR, but she made it to class, and I realized she was struggling, and so we took that opportunity in class as a group to pray for her healing, for God to mend her heart. So it's not just about showing people how to go through the motions and responding, but it's about kingdom market business and ministry, because God gives us opportunities to reach others through the tools that we teach. So, but if you would like to be certified as a BLS instructor or
basic life support,
amen. Hey. All right. Or Heart Saver, CPR, First Aid, and AED. We teach all those classes hands only. And it is about us breathing life into the heart of the community. So, I have a lot of words.
Yes. Awesome. Listen, this is another episode of High Definition Podcast. I'm Maurice.
And I'm Therese.
Y'all remember to live life
from the highest definition.
We're going to see y'all on the next episode.